First, let's look at what I consider three separate classes of book reviewer. The casual reader / non-reviewer. These are readers that read anywhere from one to hundreds of books per year, but have never or very inconsistently taken the time to actually write a review of the books they are reading. Absolutely no judgment on how many books or what type or what page count or anything else here, though I am interested in reading stats from an informational perspective, but that is another post entirely. These readers enjoy reading, but for whatever reason, they've just never taken the time to actually write out their thoughts about the book they just finished. Maybe they don't think they have the time. Maybe they don't want to subject themselves to the vitriol that can come most anywhere online these days. Maybe they don't want to judge a book, whatever reason they have for themselves. You'll find below that I hope I can convince you to follow my lead and review every book you read, and I have some ideas here. Smiley face. The book blogger / book influencer. These are readers who have chosen a particular hobby / lifestyle. Maybe they even get paid for it somehow. Though to be clear, being paid for book reviews is unethical to many, including myself, in most cases. There are some exceptions, such as if you work for Kirkus Reviews or other similar trade magazines / newspapers. But being paid directly by the author is almost always unethical. Regardless, these people, to be clear, including myself, ask for a degree of power within Booklandia, and we should thus accept a greater responsibility for what we do with that power. The Advanced Review Copy, ARC, reader. These readers have been granted the honor and the privilege of reading a book before it has been officially published. They could come from either of the prior two groups, and I know many ARC readers in both of the above groups that I've met even well before I chose to become a book blogger myself. This is the only class of reader, to my mind, where responsibility transforms to at least a version of duty. Speaking of responsibility versus duty, Merriam-Webster defines responsibility as 1. The quality or state of being responsible, such as a. Moral, legal, or mental accountability. b. Reliability, trustworthiness. And further defines responsible as 1a. Liable to be called on to answer. So responsible, in the sense of liable to be called on to answer, is pretty close to responsibility, moral or mental accountability. This will come to bear momentarily, but first let's look at Merriam-Webster defines duty as 3a. A moral or legal obligation. Thus note while responsibility only calls for accountability, it does not actually have an obligation attached to it, while a duty is specifically an obligation, moral, if not necessarily legal. This becomes key as we continue. The responsibilities of the casual reader / non-reviewer. First, above all else, be honest and true to your own experience with the book. Love it, despise it, somewhere in between, whatever. Your review is about your experience with the book, no one else's. No matter what else I ever say about reviewing books here or anywhere else, this is one thing I hold absolutely sacrosanct, even when I completely disagree with your opinions of the book at hand. Now, this does mean that to review a book, you actually need to have some actual experience with it. Even if you DNF'd, did not finish it 5 pages in, to review the book you need to have actually experienced at least some of it first, and this leads to second, ratings alone are worthless and tell the rest of us nothing. Write an actual review, please. Some sites like Goodreads have an official rating scale that no one, or effectively no one, actually uses. Rating scales are all over the map and as different as the scales to measure subatomic distances and astronomical distances and everywhere in between. Thus, a rating by itself tells the rest of us absolutely nothing about your actual view of the quality of this book. Particularly when you DNF a book, whether that be after the first sentence or just before the last sentence or anywhere in between, write an actual review and tell the rest of us where and why you DNF'd it. A review that says nothing more than DNF tells the rest of us nothing. I know it is much easier to leave just a rating. Particularly when reading on a Kindle, that rating interface to Goodreads is right there when you finish a book, and writing on a Kindle is not a Kindle strong point at all. So I get it. I did this for literally years before I finally realized, from talking to author friends, how crucial actual written reviews are, and my experiences as a book blogger have only solidified this. But this actually leads to my third point. Reviews don't have to be long or flowery. Simply adhere to Rule 1. I think Amazon, who banned me from reviewing on their platform years ago and refuses to review that decision or tell me why their AI made it. Requires 26 words to accept a review. There were 34 words in that last sentence alone, to give you an idea how short that requirement really is. Most other sites I'm familiar with, yes, including Goodreads and even Barnes and Noble and many others, don't have a specific length requirement that I'm aware of. Feel free to let me know if you know of any though. Laughing face. Thus, one basic format for a book review is quite simple. I did not like this book because underscore, and simply fill in the blank with whatever your experience with the book was, according to Rule 1. In the case of you liking the book, I gave you 5 of the 26 words you need right there. If you didn't like the book, I just gave you over 25% of the words you need for your review. Again, just follow Rule 1 and tell us what your experience with the book was, either way. But people will make fun of me if I use such a simple format. Seriously, you're going to be the only person even thinking about that. The rest of us are simply happy to see what your thoughts are, no matter how simply those thoughts may be worded. Many people hate flowery language, and many people's eyes glaze over when people go on and on and on and on. Short and simple sells products every day, including books. Your short and simple review, even in this format, can truly be the difference in that author making a sale or not. I've seen it happen. Fourth, but I don't want to be negative about a book, so I shouldn't review a book I didn't like. No, there is no such thing as a negative review. Every review helps an author sell books, because no matter how much you love a book or how much you hate it, someone will love that book for the exact reasons you hate it, and vice versa. As but one concrete example here, I recently reviewed a book I hit with an almost unheard of from me, not recommended, final judgment. My reason was because it was a weirdly limited in scope anti-capitalist polemic when it could have been so much more had it not been so limited by the author's partisanship. And yet, if you, the reader of this article and or that review, actually agree with the author's partisan blinders, you're truly going to love that book. For the exact reasons I hated it. No matter what you think of a book, someone somewhere will think you're an idiot. Others will agree with you, even when you disagree with the author, and think the author in those cases is the idiot. In the end, it tends to come out roughly even over time, at least in my experience of doing this for nearly 9 years now. So write the review, even the so-called negative one. Fifth, keep the review about the book at hand. Don't disparage the author unnecessarily while adhering to Rule 1 above. If you disagree with the author, fine. It happens. I do it somewhat frequently myself. But there is very rarely any need to attack the author as a person, even when you absolutely oppose every idea they have and how they have chosen to write those ideas out. Speak against the ideas and the writing, and keep the personal shots exceedingly rare and as civil as possible while adhering to Rule 1. For casual readers / non-reviewers, this pretty well ends what I expect from you. Write as much or as little as you want. I'm just extremely excited that you're now reviewing the books you're reading at all, as I believe that the more opinions we have about a given book, the better we all will ultimately be. Now let's talk about the responsibilities of the book blogger / book influencer. First, all of the above holds true to us as well. While the blogger and vlogger said in particular doesn't have to worry so much about making sure we write out a review, or at least speak one into a camera, maybe the influencer said in particular needs to make sure they adhere to Rule 2 above even as they put their ratings on their imagery. Smiley face. Regardless, absolutely adhere to Rule 1 above, even for us. Always be true to your own experience with the book, no matter what. Yes, it is so important that it bore repeating here. Now, to my mind, we do have extra responsibilities because we've chosen to assume extra power within the book community / Booklandia. We've actively chosen to put ourselves out there as some level of authority on what is good or not, or what is deserving or not, or however else you choose to look at what we do. My personal view is that everything we do has one ultimate mission: to help authors sell books. Well, you can phrase it any way you want. I'm just trying to share my love of books, or I'm helping readers find books they'll love, or whatever else. Any of those, and even so-called negative reasons as well, ultimately help authors sell books. Anytime you talk about a book, someone will find out about it because of you. If they then buy it, it was because they heard about it from you first. But here's my first point for us. Anything not in the official description of the book and not obvious from the genre is a spoiler, and spoilers should be avoided in reviews unless there is a clear and overriding reason to reveal it. So many of us in particular, even I catch myself diving way too close to this at times, basically do our own version of a book description in our reviews, and so many times those descriptions we write contain so very many spoilers, at least based on the definition above. Maybe there is an overriding reason. Maybe there is abuse blatantly on the page of the book or some other concern that you feel the reader of your review/of your content needs to be warned about up front. Here, it is still our responsibility to avoid spoilers as much as possible. Be as vague as possible that this type of thing happens in the book without going into specifics of when/where/how, unless absolutely necessary. And yes, this is one even I struggle with at times. Next, in all things, be as consistent as possible. This speaks to everything from how we approach a book to how we judge it to even our practices in spreading our reviews on book sites and social media. While again adhering to Rule 1 most of all, seek consistency where possible. I know on social media some sites like hashtags and others don't. Some like images or links or text over other things. Work within the realm of where you are, but be reasonably consistent across platforms even there. On tagging authors on social media specifically, be consistent. Do or do not. But whichever you do it for every book you review, no matter what. Personally, I tag the author. Anyone who has seen me anywhere on social media knows this, so why shouldn't I admit it here? I know it is controversial, and yes, I've had authors block me even over 5-star reviews within the last few weeks. That is on them. I am 100% consistent in what I do, and I feel that speaks more to my integrity than adhering to the whims of others. I am me, for better or for worse. Ultimately, I feel that integrity matters in this arena more than anything else, and my words and actions reflect that. I hope. Smiley face. At least for now, that's all I think I have extra for us. Though absolutely let me know if you think I missed anything else we should hold ourselves to above and beyond what any reviewer should do. Finally, the duties of the advanced review copy arc reader. Here's where we step away from simply holding ourselves and each other accountable and actually have an obligation. It is an obligation you accepted the instant you accepted this arc. Note here that I specifically say the instant you accepted. Particularly in the book blogger/influencer community, many of us get sent arc requests all the time. At this point, I myself am getting on average 1 to 2 per day, nearly every day. Others may get many more, potentially many more. But the obligation does not rest on the request, but on the acceptance of that request. Once we have actively made the choice to accept an advanced review copy of a book, that is the moment the obligation to review that book is created. It is an active choice, and one only we can make for ourselves. Period. That is the only time the obligation is created. And to be clear, at least in the United States, there can be no legal obligation. I speak entirely of moral obligation here. It is unethical, and thus ethically theft, to accept an arc and then not review it or at minimum not communicate back to the person who gave you that arc why you cannot review it or why the review will be delayed. To be crystal clear, I am never accusing anyone of any crime under any legal jurisdiction when I say the above. I am saying that it is a violation of your moral duty, and that morally it is still theft, even if it may not be actual legal theft wherever you may be. Life happens. I know all too well. My own wife was in the ICU earlier this summer, and spending 5 days doing nothing but hoping for her recovery actively put me behind on my reviews. Last summer, I just flat out accepted way too many books way too close together and got behind by a few weeks. Life happens. Pretty well every author and publisher I've ever known knows this, and every single one I've had personal dealings with has always been very gracious about my missed deadlines. This is at least in part because they're genuinely nice people, at least in my experience with them, but also because I make it a point to tell them what is going on and give them a realistic expectation of when I think I can have the review up on review sites and out on social media. And that is the biggest caveat to the above, which I specifically noted above. As long as you are communicating with the person who gave you the arc about why your review either will not happen or is delayed, there is no ethical problem. Not to my mind, at least, and even NetGalley actively has a will not review option, along with an option to let the publisher know why you chose that option. Though to my mind, they do need to make the field describing why you chose not to review that book mandatory when choosing this option. So if you get behind, just make sure to communicate. That's all really anyone, at least those I've interacted with over the years, really expects. Everyone knows life happens and things get in the way. They just want to know that they can still trust that you will get to it when you can. And that's it for even ARC readers. Review the book you've agreed to review, or at minimum communicate back to the person who gave you that book why you can't review it or why your review will be delayed. That is our duty as ARC readers in a nutshell. What do y'all think overall? Did I miss any responsibilities or even duties? Am I a complete idiot on all of the above? Am I some kind of sage? No, just someone who has done a lot of these for several years now and seen and interacted with many more. Laughing face.